Revealed, how a cleaner's daughter's life-changing call saved a millionaire's fortune. Lily was just a regular 16-year-old, blending into the sea of bustling high school life on the outskirts of Chicago. But everything changed the day she accidentally answered a call meant for a distressed millionaire named Victor Harrington. "No. You don't understand," he shouted through the phone, each word saturated with panic. "If I don't fix this now, I'll lose everything." It was a normal Saturday morning, sunny and warm, yet her heart pounded like a war drum as she heard the gravity of his words. Curiosity tugged at her, the kind that had gotten her into trouble at school more than once. What crisis could possibly have a millionaire in such turmoil? Glancing around her cramped kitchen, filled with the delightful aroma of lemon and vinegar from her homemade cleaning solutions, she felt an electric jolt of determination. What if she could help him? Every moment seemed to slow, and she felt the weight of the world as Victor continued to rant about allegations, whispers of betrayal, and impending doom. It was an unusual conversation, one that smelled of desperation and despair, a scent she'd grown familiar with in her own life. "Who is this?" he barked suddenly, jolting her back. His tone shifted from panic to suspicion. "I need my PR team." The opportunity fluttered in front of her, a wild dream intersecting with her reality. It was insane, but what if her resourcefulness, a girl raised on scrubbing floors and balancing books for her single mom, could help rescue him? "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As Lily explained herself, a cleaner's daughter with a knack for cleaning up messes, both literal and metaphorical. Victor's tone softened. "I don't have time for jokes," he said, but beneath the edge, she sensed the faintest flicker of vulnerability. Who would have thought that a girl with grass-stained sneakers could actually think on the same playing field as a man of such wealth and fear? But as the conversation unfolded, an unexpected bond began to form through the chaos of spilled secrets and corporate stakes. Tension crackled in the air as they discussed PR strategies, keeping her mother's struggles and her mentor's wisdom in mind. Each step felt like a tightrope walk between asking too much and offering just enough. Did her social standing have any value here? Was she, with her humble background, capable of stirring the kind of change he needed? Despite her doubts, hope sparkled like sunlight reflecting off a clean window. Yet, as plans came into focus, dark clouds gathered, the threat of corporate claws tightening, a shadow looming over their budding alliance. Would the public buy into her vision? Suddenly, the phone gripped her tightly in the hefty silence, waiting for her, once again, to answer the biggest question looming in this high-stakes game. Would she risk it all to fight for something bigger than herself? Just as the tension reached its peak, an anonymous tip slipped through the cracks of their dialogue, a conflict of interest that threatened not only Victor's name but also the very fabric of her hard-wrought respect. Would she tremble under the weight of expectations, or could she leverage her outsider's perspective, turning the tide against the very machine she never thought she could challenge? The phone rang again, and with it came haunting possibilities for both her future and Victor's, a moment that could forever tremble the foundations of both their lives. What would Lily choose when the stakes were higher than she could ever imagine? Lily's fingers trembled as she held the phone against her ear, the weight of Victor's world bearing down on her shoulders. The call was far more than a lifeline for him, it was becoming a mirror reflecting her own uncertainty. What had begun as a chance conversation was spiraling into something she never anticipated, a gamble that could shake the very foundations of her small existence. "Lily," Victor's voice broke through the haze of doubt, urgency threading through every syllable. "I need you to dig deeper. I can't." His breath hitched, as reality of his situation crashed in around him. "I can't trust anyone else. You might be the only one who can help." It was a call to arms, an invitation to step into a world that was both thrilling and terrifying, but how? She barely understood the nuances of high-stakes PR. The whispers of betrayal didn't just indicate a public relations crisis, they hinted at something much darker. Risk was etched into every word, seeping into her chest like ice. Her mind raced with possibilities. Was she ready to plunge into this ring of power and deceit, or was she a simple girl destined to stay on the sidelines? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed in the background, snapping Lily's focus back to the present. "Victor, what was that?" "A threat," he replied, voice low as if he were afraid of being overheard. "I can't explain everything now. Just know this, someone is watching, and they won't stop until they've destroyed me." The air thickened. Goosebumps danced along her arms. Fear gripped her heart, but there was an ever-growing sense of determination burning within. "I'll do it," she declared, surprising even herself with the boldness in her voice. "I'll help you." "Are you sure?" he asked, a mix of disbelief and gratitude coloring his tone. "Yeah," she said. "I mean, what's the worst that could happen?" Silence hung in the air. Then Victor spoke again, his voice steadier. "Okay, good. Trust is key here, Lily. I need you to find out who is behind the smear campaign against me. I have a contact at the lawyer's office who can provide details. You'll have to be discreet, stay under the radar." Each instruction he delivered felt like a cookie crumb leading her deeper into a dark forest. She could feel the anxiety swirling. What if she was being naive? But beneath the apprehension, hope flickered. With every risk she took, she could rewrite her story, change the trajectory of her life. As they exchanged final details, a sense of urgency tightened within her. She had a mission. She was no longer just a cleaner's daughter, she was stepping into a role that required grit and wit, a champion for a man who seemed to have lost his footing. "Remember, Lily," Victor warned one last time, his voice a low rumble, "the higher you climb, the harder you fall." That thought festered as the call ended. She set the phone down and inhaled deeply, resilience bubbling to the surface. Then, a new thought struck her: what if this wasn't just about Victor? What if there was more at stake than she had ever realized? Distracted by her thoughts, Lily glanced at the calendar hanging on the wall. A bold date circled in red came into focus. Tomorrow, their city would host a high-profile charity event. An event involving Victor Harrington. Would it be the place where everything would unravel, or perhaps where bonds would be forged? Suddenly the echo of the past flooded her mind, bringing back whispers of her own mother's struggles. This wasn't just about fortune or fame, it was about integrity and survival. As the sun dipped below the horizon, releasing a blush of colors into the sky, Lily's fists clenched. The last few hours had unfolded like a thrilling ride of fate. For better or worse, her life was entwined with Victor's, and the next step could take her down a treacherous path. Could she really unearth the truth without losing herself along the way? The clock was ticking, and secrets lay just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Lily woke up before dawn, heart racing, shadows lurking in her mind. The remnants of Victor's warning echoed in her head like a relentless drum. Today was the day. The charity event was only hours away, and she had to be smart. Each heartbeat reminded her of the stakes. This wasn't just an evening of glitz and glam, it was an opportunity for secrets to surface and lives to pivot. She slipped out of bed and began her morning routine with mechanical precision. Brushing her teeth felt like a ritual, each stroke preparing her for the uphill battle ahead. As she stared into the mirror, the girl looking back seemed different, a stranger with her own resolve. What would Victor's powerful friends think of her? The thought gnawed like a dog at her heels. But she silenced the voice of doubt, reminding herself of the mission at hand. The goal was simple: gather intel, connect the dots, and find out who threatened Victor. She was armed with nothing but determination and a bespoken dress borrowed from a friend. The event was being held at the swanky Rosewood Hotel. It towered above the city like a fortress, its glass exterior reflecting the rising sun and the hopes of those attending. As she approached the entrance, Lily's stomach twisted into knots. Could she really manage this? Maybe she should turn back. Stop. Breathe, she whispered to herself, forcing her tense shoulders down. With a surge of confidence, she stepped inside, immediately swept up in the elegance surrounding her. Crystal chandeliers hung like stars above, and the soft hum of laughter filled the air. Guests in tailored suits and shimmering gowns moved gracefully, their faces a mixture of excitement and imitation of wealth. Lily felt like an imposter, but that feeling quickly faded as she scanned the room. She needed to stay focused. Her first task was simple: find Victor. Maybe he was speaking, perhaps mingling. Either way, she needed to connect before things escalated. A few minutes in, she spotted him, a charismatic figure surrounded by swirling conversation, charms spilling out with every word. He radiated authority, but Lily could see the flicker of vulnerability in his eyes. That was her cue. She took a deep breath and made her way toward him, her heart thumping loud enough to drown out the chatter. "Victor!" she called, forcing brightness into her voice. He turned, eyes widening with recognition. "Lily! You made it." Relief washed over his face as he reached for her. "I'm glad you're here. I didn't know how you'd manage it with such short notice." "Just being proactive," she replied, trying to mirror his confidence. But Victor's demeanor shifted. His gaze darted around them, tension creeping back into his posture. "Listen, we need to talk, but not here. Can you meet me in the back room?" As he led her away from the crowd, dread slithered through her spine. What had changed? She wanted answers, and the sudden shift felt dangerous. Once inside the small, dimly lit room, Victor shut the door behind them and pressed his back against it. "You have to be careful. I can't fully trust anyone here." "Why?" she pressed, feeling unease bloom in her chest. "What has happened?" "There's a mole," he whispered, eyes wide with urgency. "Someone at the event is involved in the smear campaign. I can feel it." Panic washed over her, saturating the air. "What do we do?" "Stay alert," he said, voice thick with tension. "We need to piece together everything. Look out for anyone who seems overly interested in me or our conversation." Just then, there was a soft knock at the door, sending chills racing down her arms. "Victor," a strained voice whispered from the other side. "We need to talk. Now." He exchanged a quick glance with Lily, and in that moment, she felt the weight of the unknown pressing down upon them. What lurked behind that door could change everything. "Who is it?" he asked, tension coiling tighter between them. Silence hung for a heartbeat before the door began to swing open. Lily held her breath, heart pounding like a thunderstorm in her chest. What awaited them on the other side could be catastrophe or clarity, and she was poised on the precipice of revelation. Was the mastermind of the betrayal waiting outside, or was it something else entirely? The door creaked open, revealing a figure silhouetted against the gleaming hall behind them. It was a woman in a sleek black dress, her face obscured by elegant curls that framed her features. A sharp intake of breath from Victor made Lily's stomach twist. This was not just any guest, was it the mole he feared? "Sarah?" Victor's voice cracked slightly, disbelief etched across his face. Lily's heart raced as she tried to process the sudden arrival. "Sarah," the woman stood with a litany of secrets in her eyes, brushed past Victor and stepped into the small room. The door clicked shut behind her, sealing them in. "What are you doing here?" Victor demanded, and the tension in his voice sent an icy shiver through Lily. "I came to warn you," Sarah said, her tone urgent. She locked eyes with Lily for just a moment, and it was as if she could see right through her facade. "Things are worse than you think. You're in real danger." "Danger?" Lily echoed, her voice suddenly shaky. The room felt smaller, suffocating, as if the walls were closing in on them. "From who?" "Not everyone here is a friend," Sarah continued, her gaze darting between them. "I overheard them talking. Someone is planning to frame you, Victor. They plan to use the event tonight to ruin you completely." Lily's breath caught in her throat. Frame him? Why? Money. Power. Control. Sarah's words dripped with urgency. You have to trust me. We don't have much time. Victor stepped closer, his expression hardening. Why should I trust you, Sarah? After everything. I did what I had to do to survive, she shot back fiercely. But this isn't about me. You're the target. The whispers are getting louder, and they're telling people you've been skimming donations. It could destroy everything you've built. Fear coiled tightly around Lily's chest. Could Victor really be that vulnerable? The very thought made her stomach churn. But who would do this? She asked, casting a worried glance at Victor. Do you have any idea? The ones you least expect, Sarah hissed. Someone who can blend in. They've been waiting for this moment. With each word, Lily felt the weight of the evening pressing down on her. The laughter and chatter from the lavish event outside felt like a world away, a siren song masking a brewing storm. Victor flinched slightly, his hand brushing against the door handle, as if he contemplated fleeing. We need proof. We can't just rush into a trap. The proof is here, Sarah insisted, her voice now a whisper. I can help. I know their plan. Lily sensed the shifting currents in the room. A betrayal lurked within, and both they and Sarah stood on the edge of it. What do we need to do? She jumped in, feeling the urgency surge through her veins. Before Sarah could answer, a thunderous knock rattled the door again, making them all jump. Victor. The voice on the other side, one Lily recognized as a security guard, boomed. We need you out here. Now. Damn it. Victor's voice cracked under the weight of pressure. We don't have time. Do not open that door, Sarah warned, stepping closer to Victor. We need to devise a plan. Lily's heart raced, her mind racing. The game had changed in an instant, and danger loomed like dark clouds overhead. Was someone already watching them? How can we trust you? Lily asked, her voice steady, hanging on every word. I may have done some things, but I'm not your enemy. You know what's at stake, Sarah hissed, eyes pleading. Let me help you before it's too late. They stood there, suspended in time, as the sound of the party outside faded into a tense silence. Uncertainty thrummed in the air, heavier than she had felt moments before, and then she heard a low, dangerous laugh echoing from the hall beyond. Lily glanced at Victor and Sarah, their faces a mixture of determination and dread. Who could be out there? And what were they truly capable of? Do you trust me? Sarah asked, and Lily's pulse quickened. With so much at stake, a choice had to be made. But the laughter intensified, sending an icy realism through Lily's veins. They couldn't afford to hesitate. But what if stepping into the light meant walking right into the trap? Let us go, Victor said finally, resolve hardening in his voice. The door pushed open, what lay waiting beyond could redefine their fates forever. The door swung open, and a rush of vibrant noise flooded the small room, blaring with the energy of the ongoing gala. But beneath that surface lay a tension so thick it felt like a physical weight pressing down on them. Victor stepped out first, scanning the dazzling crowd. The flickering lights danced across the polished floor, people mingled in extravagant outfits, sipping champagne, completely unaware of the web of treachery thickening around them. Stay close, he whispered, glancing back at Lily and Sarah, their eyes wide with apprehension. Before Lily could reply, Sarah darted past Victor, her gaze locked onto a group of men at the end of the hall. That's them, she breathed, urgency igniting her voice. They were talking by the bar. They have something planned. Lily's heart pounded. She forced herself to look toward the men, three figures, laughter erupting between them like sinister fireworks, their faces slightly obscured but unmistakably familiar. One was Robert, a rival from Victor's charity, known for ruthless ambition. Another, Samuel, had always been lurking in Victor's shadow. The third, a newcomer with slick back hair and a sharp suit, was someone Lily had never seen. "They're definitely involved," Victor muttered, his jaw tightening. Sarah nodded, eyes flickering between the trio and the security guard stationed around the venue. "We need to get proof. We can't act until we know exactly what they're plotting." But before anyone could speak, Robert's laughter rang out, slashing through the chatter. "He thinks he can keep playing the hero forever." His words drew the attention of nearby guests, and Lily felt a chill crawl down her spine. "Did you hear that?" Lily whispered, dread pooling in her stomach. What if they're setting him up right now?" Victor's eyes darted swiftly, weighing their options. "We need leverage." The tension twisted in the air, hungry, waiting to snap. "Let us split up," Sarah suggested. "I'll move closer to them and see what I can overhear." "Are you out of your mind?" Victor shot back, but Sarah cut in, determination lighting her eyes. "It's the only way. I have to take the risk." Victor opened his mouth to protest again but stopped, realizing the urgency of the moment. "Fine. But be careful. We don't know what they're capable of." With a quick nod, Sarah slipped into the crowd, her figure melding into the glittering sea of guests. Lily felt a mixture of fear and admiration. She wanted to shout out a warning but the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she turned to Victor, who now wore a mask of resolve. "What do we do next?" Victor scanned the room, eyes narrowing. "We need a distraction. Something to draw attention away from Sarah. Can't you just make a scene? You are the guest of honor, after all." He smirked, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Maybe I can manage that." Suddenly, the crowd surged slightly, and an excited gasp echoed from the entrance. A commotion drew attention, heads turned and whispers erupted, but more importantly, it was away from Sarah's path. The moment of chaos was a start. Victor seized it, raising his voice, loud enough to be heard above the din. "Ladies and gentlemen." He moved into the spotlight, adjusting his tie, projecting an aura of calmness. "As some of you know, our charity is facing unprecedented challenges. But together, we can conquer our doubts and fears." Lily felt a rush of adrenaline but was torn between wanting to help and the fear of being discovered. Keeping one eye on Victor, who expertly painted the evening's plight into a gripping narrative, she felt the other pulling her toward the back of the crowd, toward the whispers of those scheming men. Just then, a chilling laugh drifted through the air again. The men were now conferring in hushed tones, gesturing animatedly as if they knew they were hidden behind this chaos. Unease wrapped around her like a vice. Were they discussing Victor? Were they making their move right now? Lily's breath quickened, her instincts screaming at her to act. She had to know what they were planning. Victor's voice rang out again. "Let us change the narrative together. Let us prove that hope isn't lost." But the laughter she heard earlier drowned out his words. The shadow of suspicion loomed larger, tightening its grip. Was it time for her to reveal herself in this twisted game? As she took a hesitant step forward, something in the conversation behind the trio shifted, and she realized she had just become more than a mere observer in their play. What was the game they were truly playing? And who would come out as the victor in this deadly dance? Just then, a sudden movement caught her attention, a flash of white in someone's hand, a piece of paper. What had Sarah uncovered? Lily's heart raced as she gave chase, her instincts igniting. But then, a shout rang out from the front, freezing her in place. "Freeze! Security!" Eyes darted everywhere, panic swiftly spreading like wildfire among the crowd. And then, as if the night had held its breath, it made its fatal reveal. Someone would pay the price for their ambitions, and the truth might be more complex than they had ever imagined. Lily's heart pounded in her ears, the rush of adrenaline pushing her forward. The chaos in the hall swirled like a tempest, and she hesitated for only a moment, her eyes locked onto the men. What was on that paper? Was it evidence? A warning? She sidestepped elegantly, blending into the movement of the guests as the shouts pierced through the air. Panic ignited, faces twisted in fear, and the once celebratory atmosphere quickly morphed into one of confusion and uncertainty. "Stay back!" a guard barked, pointing in her direction. The tension cut through the room like a knife, igniting an instinctual fight-or-flight response deep within her. Lily ducked behind a structural pillar, her breath shallow, trying to remain unseen. She squinted through the crowd, catching glimpses of the three men. They appeared unfazed by the security's orders, sharing furtive glances and exchanging whispers. Robert's voice broke through the muttering crowd, thick with disdain. "You can't hide the truth forever, Victor." Just then, she felt an urge deep within her to uncover whatever deceit was festering behind Robert's smirk. Her mind raced as she pored over their facial expressions. Too many layers, too many secrets shrouded in that room. Where was Sarah? She needed to warn her. As Lily took a step back, she suddenly bumped into someone. It was a woman dressed in an elaborate golden gown, her eyes wide with panic. "What is happening?" she gasped, clutching her clutch tightly. "Stay calm," Lily whispered, pushing past her to get closer to the trio again. The crowd surged, but with determination, she edged back toward the bar, closer to those men. Then, like a gunshot in the silence, a voice rang out. "Control your guests." Another guard was barking, directing the spotlight back on Victor. He was still projecting confidence, but his eyes sparkled with dread, betraying the facade. Lily's eyes darted to the men who now seemed agitated, shifting on their feet. Suddenly, Samuel raised his voice, almost cracking. "We can't let him find out. He'll ruin everything." Lily's breath hitched. Everything? What were they hiding? This was bigger than a mere setup, it was a threat beneath the gala's glitz and glamour. Before she could process the thought, the newcomer's sharp suit and all clutched his phone tightly and made a decisive move toward the exit. "We need to go. Now," he urged urgently. This was her chance. Lily moved quickly, slipping out of the crowded space and into the narrow hallway leading to the exit. She was just in time to glimpse Sarah through a veil of onlookers, her expression panicked. But more disconcerting was the sight of victory flashing across the men's faces. Frantically, Lily edged closer to Sarah. "Sarah! They're leaving. We need to follow them." Her words burst out in a hurried whisper. "I know," Sarah replied, her eyes wide, still focused on the men who were now slipping into the shadows near the lot. "But we can't let them know we're onto them. We have to be smart." As they started to move, the tension shifted again, the loud voice of security sirens and murmurs surrounded them. "What if they're calling in backup?" Lily worried, glancing back. "We have to risk it," Sarah murmured. "If we don't find out what they're hiding, it could cost more than we can afford." Lily shivered at the thought of losing everything: Victor's charity, their reputations, even their lives. She tugged on Sarah's sleeve. "We can't let them slip away. We have to be quick." Just as they reached the exit, they found themselves face to face with the newcomer, who stood there blocking the path with a chilling smile. Well. Looks like you ladies are far too interested in matters that do not concern you." His eyes gleamed with mischief, and Lily's heart dropped. A thought erupted explosively in her mind: they were not just after Victor. They were here for her and Sarah too. "What do you want?" Sarah demanded, summoning her courage as she squared her shoulders against the imposing figure. The newcomer stepped closer, confidence radiating like a wall around him. "You're playing a dangerous game, little girls. I suggest you stop while you're still ahead before the stakes become life or death." Fear clawed at her throat as they stayed frozen, standing on the edge of a confrontation far beyond their understanding, and just like that, the night shifted again. Was this crescendo the end of their plans or merely the beginning of a far more treacherous path? A loud crack echoed, and a shadow loomed just behind them. Lily's heart raced, and then abruptly stopped. What had they just become a part of? What awaited them in this dark web of deceit? Lily's heart thundered in her chest, a wild drumbeat echoing the panic that swirled around her. The man stood before them like a storm, his smile a sharp blade against the backdrop of chaos. Just seconds felt like hours, stretching between them as they weighed their options against the weight of unspoken threats. "Step aside," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the fear radiating from her. It was a command cloaked in desperate authority. But the man only tilted his head, amusement flickering in his dark eyes. "I can't let you do that," he replied, his tone dripping with amusement. "You really have no idea what you're dealing with." A shiver raced down Lily's spine. The crowd behind them surged, cries for help echoing through the hall, but they remained frozen, tethered to this conversation, paralyzed by the palpable tension. "Listen, we don't want any trouble," Lily urged, her voice shaky, but the fire within her refused to be snuffed out. "We only want to help Victor." The man's laughter danced through the air, a jarring sound that sent chills along her skin. "Help? Is that what's really happening? Or are you just here to dig deeper into a pit you can't climb out of?" Before she could respond, another crack echoed, twisting Lily's stomach into knots. It felt like a warning, a reminder of just how far down this rabbit hole went. Suddenly, without warning, the man lunged forward, grabbing both of their wrists in a grip like iron. "Let us take a little walk, shall we?" "You're coming with me," he said, urgency edging his voice. Lily struggled against his hold, her body pulsing with adrenaline. Sarah's eyes flared. "Get your hands off us." He only tightened his grip, leading them away from the exit and back into the swirling chaos. Panic thrummed through the crowd like a live wire as people pushed and shoved, trying to understand what was happening. The cacophony of fear was overwhelming, but all Lily could focus on was the man who was about to drag them into something even more sinister. They turned down a dimly lit corridor. Flickering lights overhead cast shadows against the wall, elongating the figures of guests who merely wanted to enjoy a night at the gala. With every stride that took them farther from the safety of the crowd, the walls closed in around her. "Where are you taking us?" Lily managed between breaths, fighting against the terror building within. He glanced over his shoulder, still grinning. "You'll see. But know this, what you're digging into goes much deeper than any of you realize. Men like Victor don't play games, they rewrite the rules." Just then, Lily noticed a figure lurking ahead. It was another man, cloaked in darkness, standing ominously at the end of the hall as if awaiting orders. A wave of dread washed over her as the recognition flooded her mind. It was one of the three men from the gala. "Damien! Get them over here!" The newcomer called, a sense of glee in his voice that sent bile rising in Lily's throat. Fear seized her heart. This was their chance to expose the truth, but the men were far too formidable. What if they were capturing them to silence their investigation? What if they were too late? As they reached the new figure, the atmosphere grew thick with danger. "You shouldn't have come snooping," Damien hissed, his tone laced with menace. "Now you'll understand how far our reach goes." Lily's mind raced as she tried to process the turns of the night. Had they stepped into a trap of their own making? Was it too late to turn back? With emotions swirling dangerously hot, she locked eyes with Sarah. "We can't let them scare us. We have to find a way out and warn Victor." At that moment, a loud crash sounded from the direction of the ballroom. Shouts erupted. A fight had broken out. "Opportunity knocks," the man holding them sneered. "Or is it déjà vu? Don't think you can escape that easily." Lily's heart raced. Should they fight, run, or barter for their lives? As the sounds grew louder, she stole a glance back at the approaching men, and just then, a fear-inducing thought crossed her mind. What if they were more than just thugs with a plan? What if they were unpredictable forces that could unravel everything? The path ahead turned murky as tension gripped the air. Could she and Sarah navigate this labyrinth of deceit, or would they be pulled further into the shadows? With a sudden resolve, Lily whispered urgently to Sarah, "Ready." But before they could act, another figure stepped into view, altering the stakes completely. "Let them go." The commanding voice resonated through the corridor, drawing their attention like moths to a flame. Lily's pulse quickened. Who was this new player, and what did they want? The question hung heavy in the air, unanswered and promising a revelation that might change everything. Lily's heart lurched as a tall, imposing figure emerged from the shadows. The sudden appearance was like a thunderclap, and she stared, wide-eyed, trying to grasp who had just intervened. The room seemed to hold its breath, a moment of silence cascading over the chaos beyond the corridor. "Let them go," the stranger repeated, his voice steady and devoid of hesitation. He stepped closer, his jacket fluttering slightly, revealing a glimmer of a badge tucked in his belt. "Let us not do anything hasty, shall we?" Damien countered, a tinge of irritation threading his voice. The new arrival stood firm, his dark eyes surveyed the scene like a hawk watching its prey. "I said let them go." There was a finality in his tone that made the tension crackle like static in the air. Lily exchanged glances with Sarah, their eyes scanning for any sign of movement. Would this man help them? Or was he just another player in this twisted game? "What is this? The cavalry?" The man holding them mocked, his grip still unyielding. He was clearly unamused, indignant. Before anyone could respond, the new figure drew closer, his expression unfaltering. "You think this is over? You have no idea who you're dealing with." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the direction they had come, followed by a roar of more shouts and frantic footsteps. The chaos at the gala was spilling into darkness, and it was storming closer. "Didn't I tell you to stay out of it?" The stranger's presence brought something unsettling, a hint of a storm about to break. Lily's heart raced as a mix of hope and anxiety gripped her. "We need help," she whispered, not entirely sure what to expect from this man. That he darted a quick look her way, reading her expression, then shifted his focus back to the duo that restrained them. "You're making a mistake. Release them, or you'll have to answer to much more than just me. I don't think you're prepared for what's about to unfold." Damien chuckled derisively but took a half-step back, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "This is none of your business." A gritting silence followed, each second stretched taut with unspoken threats. Lily could feel the weight of decisions hanging in the air, her instincts screaming for action. "Now's your chance," she urged Sarah, feeling a surge of adrenaline fuel her words. "We have to try and escape while we can." But before they could move, the alley erupted suddenly with raucous energy. More figures began pouring in, some in formal attire, others in tactical gear. They came from the ballroom, a whirlwind of energy and shouts that split the air. "Take down the opposition," one shouted, rushing forward with intent. The chaos of the gala surged behind them. Colored lights, panic, and desperate screams merged into a dizzying blur. "Run!" the new figure yelled, lunging forward to break the hold of their captors. Lily grabbed Sarah's arm and they bolted in the opposite direction, adrenaline igniting their legs as they weaved through the crowd. With the path before them now a tempest of confusion, they swerved into a hallway, leaving behind the impending storm. But as they raced down the corridor, a new dread clawed at Lily's mind. Who were these people chasing them? Were they here to save them, or to snatch them back when the opportunity arose? Moments later, skidding to a halt, they turned to catch a glimpse of the chaos behind the darkness that had swallowed the night. Just as they caught their breath, the man who intervened had found them again, breathing heavily but somehow still unshaken. "Why are you really here?" he asked, urgency scratching at the edges of his calm demeanor. They had escaped, but the real questions loomed larger than ever. Before Lily could reply, another explosion rattled the ground beneath them, sending a shower of dust and debris raining down from the ceiling. It echoed like a low thunder, propelling them back toward the maw of uncertainty. Lily's pulse raced as screams ricocheted against the walls. She looked at Sarah, both of them now edged on the precipice of revelation or disaster. The world felt so close to ending in that moment. "Whoever you are," Lily whispered against the sound of chaos, "we need to figure this out fast." As the tremors of sound reverberated around them, a chilling realization struck: this was just the beginning. Lily stared at the man, his expression inscrutable even amidst the chaos that churned around them. Dust hung heavy in the air, and another tremor from near the main hall sent shivers through her spine. She felt adrenaline ebb and flow like a raging tide, sharp and undeniable. "We need to move," the man urged, glancing back toward the corridor they had just escaped. It was a comparison between life and what was left of it, the cacophony behind them a reminder of the clawing danger. "Who are you?" Lily shot back, her voice sharp with urgency. "More importantly, what do you know about them?" he countered, his eyes darkening. Lily's mind raced. They had no time for conversations that didn't mean survival. I don't know anything. I just want to get out of here." The unknown man leaned in, lowering his voice so only they could hear over the distant chaos. "You might be their target. You need to trust me, I'm the only thing standing between you and them right now." Before she could process what he meant, another explosion rocked the building, sending a shower of plaster cascading from above. The ground shook, and Sarah stumbled, her face pale and stricken with fear. "Get her up. Move," he snapped, his tone commanding. Lily felt a swell of frustration rip through her. There were so many questions. Why was her life intertwined with this chaos? Was the man really here to help, or was he another wild card in a game she never wanted to play? Forcing herself to focus, she knelt beside Sarah as the man drew back, scanning the area. "Come on, we can't hesitate," he urged again, his fists clenched, ready to fight. With Sarah back on her feet, the man led them deeper into an unlit corridor, the din of the gala retreating but the sense of danger still thick in the air. It felt like they were running from shadows. "You have to trust me," he repeated, the urgency in his voice weaving a desperate rope they both had to grasp. Lily's heart sank. Trust was a fragile tether in moments like this. What if he was wrong? What if they ran straight into more trouble? But this was an impossible choice. Every second spent hesitating felt like a countdown to their demise. Suddenly, the corridor opened into a large storage area, shadows pooling into corners. Stacks of boxes lined the walls like silent witnesses to their distress. The man turned to them, urgency flaring in his eyes. "We need to hide here until it calms down. They won't expect us to retreat into the dark." Before they could respond, the sound of footsteps thundered closer, harsh voices slicing through the stillness. Panic coiled tightly around Lily's chest as she and Sarah ducked behind a stack of crates, hearts pounding like war drums. Her breath caught in her throat, fear choking her thoughts. What if they found them? What if it was over before it even began? "Stay quiet," the man whispered through clenched teeth, lowering his voice as he pressed against the boxes beside them. Lily could see the tension in his muscles, the fight ready to burst free, a primal dance between predator and prey. They waited, hearts ticking like time bombs, as the footsteps echoed closer, shadows merging into one disturbing dark mass illuminated only by flickering overhead lights. And just when she thought the storm would pass, a voice boomed through the shadows. "They can't have gone far. They must be here somewhere." Lily exhaled slowly as cold dread washed over her. The risk they took seemed to strangle around them as if tighter chains bound them to their fate. The world outside spun out of control, and all she could do was pray for a sliver of hope, something that would allow them to escape this night. But before they could breathe relief, the man's eyes went wide as the sound of heavy footsteps approached even closer, stopping just outside their hiding place. He lifted his hand, signaling them to stay silent as fear seared through Lily's veins like ice. What would happen next? Would they be discovered? And more importantly, what secrets lay behind the chaos, waiting to be uncovered? In that moment, Lily realized, everything had changed, and this was only the beginning of something far more treacherous than she had ever bargained for. "Let us hope this darkness is our friend," the man murmured. But deep down, Lily felt the warning bells clang louder. Who were they truly running from? And what had she unwittingly become a part of? Lily's heart raced as the footsteps faded moments later. Silence wrapped around them like a heavy blanket, but fear still coiled tightly in her chest. They couldn't stay hidden forever. It felt like the walls were closing in, pressing in on her until she could hardly think. She looked at Sarah and the man beside them. He was their wild card. But how much could she trust him? "Are we safe?" Sarah whispered, her face pale with anxiety. "For now," the man replied, his voice steady but low, as if unsure of what would come next. "But not for long. We need to make a move while the distraction outside is still strong." Lily nodded but felt the lump in her throat return. Something deep within warned her that whatever lay beyond these boxes was worlds of danger. Suddenly, the tension broke as the man gestured for them to rise. "We have to get to the back exit." He peered around the crates cautiously. "Follow my lead." They stepped back into the dim light of the corridor, moving quickly but silently. The noise from the gala diminished but was still alive enough to feel the pulse of chaos echoing through the walls. As they approached the last doorway, a sudden crash echoed from behind them, a sound jagged and raw. A new wave of men sprinting toward the newly appeared route to escape. Adrenaline surged as Lily turned to the man. "What now?" "Run!" he shouted, the command filled with urgency, and they bolted through the door into a narrow hall. They didn't stop until they reached a back entrance, just a mere flimsy exit. But it was their only chance. "I'm not sure how secure this will be," the man warned, glancing over his shoulder as they slipped outside. The night sky greeted them, punctuated by the distant sounds of sirens and people scattering in panic. For a moment, it felt like the world outside was wide open and dangerous, a vast unknown that both thrilled and terrified her. "What do we do now?" Sarah asked, breathless but determined. The man's eyes narrowed thoughtfully as he assessed the surroundings. "We need to regroup. Get somewhere secure." "Victor!" Lily gasped, her chest tightening again. He could be in danger. "Focus," the man snapped, his frustration palpable. "We can't help Victor if we're not alive." Lily felt a knot twist in her stomach. He was right. Staying alive would come first. "Let us find a safe spot to lay low, then we can figure out our next move," she suggested, feeling the urgency race through her like wildfire. "All right, there's an alleyway, it should be sheltered enough," he instructed. As they rounded the corner, they ducked behind a dumpster, insulated from view yet still within earshot of the chaos unfolding around them. Shadows danced closer, but she felt partially hidden, a small comfort amid the storm. "Lily," the man whispered, leaning close. "You need to tell me everything you know. The truth could save us." Lily hesitated, shivers running down her spine. But she looked into his dark eyes, searching for any hint of deceit. "It all started with a phone call," she recounted quickly, barely pausing for air. "Victor and I answered by mistake. I thought I could help him and then things spiraled out of control. Why didn't you come to me sooner?" He pressed, the urgency in his voice amplifying, each second feeling like an hour slipping by. "We need to play this smart. Because I didn't know who to trust." The frustration broke free, her voice rising above the murmurs. "I was just a kid, it felt too big for me. But I want to help Victor, he deserves better than this." "Then we will help him," he promised, his eyes steely and determined. "But we need real proof of what they're doing. If we can expose Robert and the others' plan, we can save them both." Just then, the sound of shouting drew nearer, drowning out her fears, revitalizing her sense of purpose. "I've seen those men before," Lily said urgently. "They were discussing money and power. They think Victor is a threat to them." "Then let us give them something to truly fear," he said, voice filled with a newfound fire. "We'll go back, gather our intel, and strike first." Lily felt a rush of hope mixed with fear surging through her. "We have to be careful, they're dangerous." "Dangerous people make mistakes," he replied fiercely. "And if we're smart, we can turn that against them." The plan began to form in her mind, and despite the fear gnawing at her heart, determination smothered it. "Let us do it," she breathed, her voice steady. The man nodded. They had a purpose. They were warriors now, ready to face the odds. They stepped back toward the raging storm, ready to use the chaos to their advantage. To turn the tide in their favor. But first, they had to confront Victor. Together, they would take down the darkness creeping into his life and forge a new story, one filled with light. As they merged back into the chaos, Lily took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. The night had turned treacherous, but beneath all the fear and uncertainty, a flame of courage had ignited in her chest. Now, the moment of truth awaited them. Shadows could no longer intimidate her. They would fight or fall. And she was determined that tonight, they would rise. This is it, her last chance for a fresh start. If you loved this story and want to hear more, you need to subscribe now. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and support our journey. We want to hear you in the comments section. Share your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this wild ending. And please, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us unleash the excitement together.